name's Linda McNeil, and for those of you that don't know me, and many don't, I was one of the original founding members when we opened in July 2010. And at that time, I had been looking for a job. I was a single mother, and I had been downsized, and this opportunity came along. And at the time, I thought, oh my gosh, like, this is a lot of to making. You know, what am I going to do? And I thought, I'll take till something better comes along. And here I am. There is nothing better. I wish I had the opportunity, like, 20 years ago to get into this.
They can't hear you online.
Oh, can't they?
Just speak up a little.
What if I stand over here?
Can you hear better if she stands there?
I can hear, but I have to really listen. So is there a way of turning up the volume a bit on her end?
No. She just needs to talk louder.
I know. Okay. But I had my back to you. I feel bad.
No,
about
that's
that
good.
too.
No, the camera's up there.
Oh,
They're seeing the front of you.
oh, I know, but I'm seeing the.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
We
I'm
can
not
hear-
seeing that. Maybe I got to stand sideways. How's that? That better? Can you hear better? Okay. All right, so that's kind of a little bit about me. I actually decided to retire. I made the decision around the end of 2020. And my partner had been retired for 8 years and was waiting for me. So I thought, okay, time has come. And so I spent 2021 training Aaron. And I'll still will always be involved, of course. I love this company. And my youngest daughter got her license in 2020. And so we have a lot of chats. It's Rachel McGinney, now Brown, my daughter. Someday I might even get my license and, work for her. We'll see. But she doesn't want to pay me though. So that could be a problem. So we're here for Agent Financials, and this is kind of like a very a basic, like they say, it's 4.5 hours, but I'm not spending 4.5 hours. We don't need to spend 4.5 hours. A lot of the material too is US related, so we'll kind of just touch on some of that. But some of the things that I'm hoping that you'll get out of it is have a budget. Do you know how much money you need to make to fund your life? I mean, that's the first thing you got to start with your personal, like what's it costing you to live, and then what's it going to cost you to run your business, and how do you get to the point where you're making enough money to do both. And also get you to understand the 30-30-40 principle, because you'll hear that a lot when you're doing any kind of training, and knowing your numbers, because your numbers tell you a story about who you are. And who wants to pay CRA a lot of money? If you're getting a refund on your HST, you're not making enough money. You're not surviving. So that's basically what I'm hoping that you're all going to get out of this today. And anytime you want me to stop, slow down, I'm going to sit though. Yeah, so having a financially sound business. And Anne does business planning. You should take advantage of that because you get a lot of really good things out of that. A lot of agents confuse revenue with profit. They're two separate things. They don't save for their taxes. They don't use the powerful tools available to them and don't understand financials and just wing it. Don't plan for a regular monthly salary and not planning for your financial security. So hopefully you'll get some things out of this that will help with that. Oh, where's the slides? Oh, we don't really need to do. If you want, if you can probably follow along in your manuals. I don't know if you guys have them in front of you. Okay, good. So if you look at, I don't know what page 3, which is your business. Are you? Is it unsound or sound? And you'll see the notes there that will tell you whether you're running an unsound or sound business. You want to be worry and stress-free, allows you to take advantage of opportunity, frees you up to do more, makes your money work for you, and prepares you for challenging times. That's the kind of business that you want to have. So talking about the income versus profit. So the income is the actual commission, your GCI, your gross commission income. So when you get paid, you get a commission check. That is your revenue. The income is or the profit is what's left after, your business expenses are paid, your split and your royalty is paid. That's profit. So the 30-30-40 principle, which we'll probably get into that a little bit more, is, running a successful business, you're paying 30% of your business fees and 30% expenses. So the 30% business would be the, your cap, your royalty, and then 30% your expenses, your taxes, and 40% should be the profit amount that you're getting, that you're making. So if that's what you should strive for in your goals. 40% is for you to fund your personal life. Well, it's 40% is the profit, and then you have 30% for business expenses and 30% for your taxes. So there's on page 6 or whatever, how do you measure your success? So you should be keeping score. And of course, we do this with Keller Williams in our, like every month, we look at this, all these important, the numbers aren't so important. So do you know your score, your GCI, your volume, your units closed, your net income and profit, how much money you're in the bank, your multi-year trends, and the language of real estate. And I don't know if a lot of you know, you've seen, if you've been to any of the monthly meetings, our multi-year trends, but every agent can access your multi-year trends on MyKW. And which after you've been in business for a year, and then, you can start seeing your trends. So again, how much money do you need to fund your life? Who here has a budget? Anybody online? For your personal and your business? Yeah, very important. And that'll change over time. I know for myself, since I retired, my budget, the biggest line item is travel, because, that's what I worked all my life for, is to be able to travel. So that changes. And I also live with somebody who's OCD. So his financial spreadsheets are macros, multi-sheets. He knows every day what his net worth is. He knows what day he's got to die. And right now, with the way the market's going, I'm going to put a pillow over his head a lot sooner, but, hopefully things will turn around. So it is important, because, you make, decisions based on, where you are in your life and affordability and, risks. As you get older, you can't take as many risks. I learned that the hard way. So there's a few things that, again, are very important. And some of these I just can't stress enough. So you should have a stated goal for the year. Like, I'm assuming that the majority of you are like fairly new, except for Susan Young. I know she's on here, so she can ask me some hard questions. Use a profit and loss statement. That does not have to be very difficult. Actually, I've created like a very simple spreadsheet, and I'll send that out to anybody that's wants that. This one here is really, really important. I've double asked this one. Have a separate checking account and a credit card for your business versus your personal. And one of the biggest reasons for this is that if you ever get audited by CRA and you have all your money in one account, they're going to be looking at all your personal stuff. And I know an agent who was audited by CRA, and they were commenting on the quality of the wine she was drinking. So put your money into a separate checking account, and then pay your expenses out of that, and then pay yourself a salary. So even if you have to transfer what's left into your personal account, that's your salary. but keep that, and also keep your money there for your taxes. Because we've seen so many times agents not being able to pay their taxes at time, and then you get garnished, and that's not fun. And that also, I don't know if many know, but you can have KW hold your taxes for you so that it's safe. So you can't spend it.
Forced savings.
Forced savings, exactly, yes. Track your business miles driven. So at the beginning of the year, write your mileage odometer reading, and at the end of the year, write the ending. And then in between, all your appointments, and keep a track of that, because if you aren't tracking your mileage, you can't claim your auto expenses. Keep receipts for all business expenses. So know the average cost of each transaction. So if you're, of course, for your buyer's agent, your business costs are going to be a lot less than versus your a listing agent.
Not now with gas.
Not now with gas, yeah, really. And so know what it costs to run your business if you're not making any money. So if you're, how many months, you should have enough savings if you, in order to go for 3-6 months if you have no business. So that's important to know. The other thing is it's important to have an active profit share tree, because that is, mailbox money, passive income. And I always tell people the story about Aaron in New Orleans. Tell them that story.
So the first family reunion that I went to was in New Orleans, and I was in the mall shopping. I went to a perfume store, and we wear like lanyards at the conference. And so I was at the cash register, and the cashier said, "Oh, are you a real estate agent?" And I said, "No, I work for Keller Williams. I'm staff. I'm not an agent." And she said, "Oh, I think I want to be a real estate agent." And I was like, "Oh, really?" So I handed her my business card and just said, "If you ever want to talk about Keller Williams, let me know." That was the end of it. I paid and I left. A year later, she called the office here and told me that she took the course, got her license, joined Keller Williams, named me as her sponsor.
So you never know who
Yeah.
you're talking to, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a different company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she had somebody named her.
Yeah, she had someone else name her, so I do have someone
Yeah.
else in New Orleans in my downline.
Right, because if that person leaves, then whoever's named them
Yeah.
goes to whoever, so it rolls up.
Yeah.
It rolls up, yeah, yeah. So it's, yeah.
I don't know much about profit share. Is that one check at the end of the day?
No, it's
Every month. It's actually today, the 21st of every
21st of the
month.
month. And what happens is at the end of every month, like Keller Williams, we, do our what we call a transmittal, but it's like a year end, because we have to pay out profit share. And so what happens is the total profit, 52% goes to the ownership group, and 48% goes to the agents who helped us grow the company. So and what 800 and some thousand we paid out in profit share last year. So
Yeah.
it's
significant.
it's significant. Yeah.
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 That's how I reno my house. That's how I convince my husband
Yes.
to spend, I can spend the money.
So well, again, the MREA model, and I don't know, do I have the book there? I did pull it out. Oh, there it is there. If you've read this, there's a lot of good information in that. And it doesn't matter how big or small your business is. Like, again, when I started in 2010, I didn't know anything about real estate. So this was the first book I read. And I still refer to it from time to time when I'm talking to people. And the other thing Anne will talk about too, especially when she's doing business planning, is a lot of real estate agents think of themselves as like salespeople and not business owners. When you think about the inventory that you're carrying, like houses or whatever, you're talking millions and millions of dollars. No different than, like a shoe store, they're going to have budgets and run it like a business. You should be doing the same thing. So on page 13, they talk about the flow of money. So you've got your GCI, which is your income, your expenses is what goes out, and the profit is what's left over. So a lot of things, setting goals for yourself or whatever is like, how much money do you want to have in the bank at the end of the year? So how many appointments? And so it's important to, especially as you get into the business over time, is to track, like, how many appointments for listings and buyers do you need? So this is talk about knowing your numbers. So what are your conversion ratios? When you're newer, most people are like, talking to buyers, but as you, continue on in your career or whatever, you start getting listings. So knowing those ratios is very important. It also helps you to be able to predict your income, because after a while, I mean, those, if you know that your conversion ratio is like, 80% or whatever, it's a lot easier to build your budget versus like throwing darts at the wall. Which is when you're newer, that's kind of what you're doing. So what goes in, so we're talking page 14 is the commission earned from closed transaction. The book says 3%, but in the US, 6% is like, basically is typical for them. Whereas in our market, it's more between the 2 and the 2.5%. So, and then you got to understand what your cost of sales are for each of your transactions. And so cost of sales would include commissions paid to the office, royalty fees, commissions or splits paid to independent contractors, and then referral fees. And then page 15, I think, talks about, looking a little bit deeper into the cost of sales. So GCI is not what you receive in your commission check. It's because your cost of sales comes off that first. And then you get your net commission, which is which is what you use to pay your bills and pay yourself. Then they show actual here too, the example there of looking at your cost of sales. So if you have a $9,000 commission check, you're going to be paying your split and then your royalty. And what's left over is your gross commission. And then your expenses related to your business would include things like your rent, your auto, your insurance, if you have any salary or admin fees, marketing, advertising, training, like any training that you go on, would be considered your operating expenses. And what's left over is your net income or your profit. Then I've got an example here. Page, I think it's on page 17. I don't know if it shows in your book. If you have a net profit goal of 250,000, does that show there?
It doesn't show 250.
Okay, well, you know what? I took it down and I broke it down to 100,000. So if you want to, at the end of the day, put $100,000 in your bank account after you've paid all your expenses, you take that 100,000, divide that profit goal by 60%, which gives you 166,666. So then you divide that by 40%. So you will need a gross commission income goal of $416,665 in order to have 100,000 in your bank account at the end of the year. If you divide that by your average commission income, and the example I used was 7,500, you didn't need to have 75 closings. Or 55 closings, sorry. I think nowadays that gross commission income may be a little bit bigger on average. Then you take off your cost of sales and your operating expense, and then your operating expenses budget. So that's 30 and 30. That would be 124,999. It seems kind of scary when you look at it at first, but you know, start out, if you wanted to look to have $50,000 in your bank account at the end of the year, which is, you know, pretty decent, you just divide those, cut those in half. Yeah, so again, I guess the bottom line of what we were just talking about is, you know, you're a business owner first. Commit to a financially sound business based on the systems of the MREA, and know your desired profit goal and the required GCI and the activities to achieve it. So if you just, that one little section that we were just talking about, if you know, that's a good business planning tool. It may not be 100% accurate, but it'll be close. So the next thing they talk about is getting leverage. So that is who's your team. You're the one that's going to be responsible for your numbers, but you're gonna want to have like a team of behind you. So, you know, do you have an accountant or a bookkeeper, or are you doing it yourself? You know, you probably have like mortgage brokers, bankers that you talk to, tax advisors, lawyers. So it's important to have a good team behind you. And then again, coaching. You know, a coach is a good to have as well. I mean, we've all had coaches and still do, and everybody in the you know, in the leadership are all in coaching. If you want to have a successful business, I mean, they're the pros out there to help you. And then again, was talking about 24 just goes again about the banking and making sure that you have, you know, separate accounts set up, separate accounts for your credit card and savings accounts, investment accounts. The next section gets into a lot about choosing your business entity. And again, a lot of this is set up for the US. And this is a question that we get asked a lot about by agents is, when should I get incorporated? You know, is it 100,000 or is it, you know, 150,000 or is 200,000? Well, if you're making 100,000 or 150,000 and you're spending 150,000, you don't need to be incorporated. You're not going to save any money. But you want to get incorporated when you are having a lot of money in your account. You can, that's the time. But you need to get advice from a lawyer and a tax accountant to do that. But that's, you know, basically what I always tell people: if you're making what you spending what you make, you'll waste money being incorporated. Oh, and then the next section too talks about conquering taxes. Again, a lot of this is US because they talk about they have different tax deadlines. They talk about harsh penalties. Yeah, if you don't pay your taxes on time, there are harsh penalties. And the last thing you want is them coming to visit you. And then paying your HST, again, it depends on where you are in your business, whether you pay it, and I think they'll tell you when you pay it annually versus paying it quarterly or monthly. And again, I cannot stress enough too about, you know, saving, like having the tax money saved.
Yeah.
Like the last thing you want is to be garnished. It's not fun. And they're talking about different, page 37, they're talking about deductions and what you can save or not, or report or not, or use as a business expense. These are, again, US. Some of them are similar. Of course, you know, mileage you can, your car payment or your lease or whatever. But again, it's one of the other things is that if you're driving a luxury vehicle like a Mercedes or whatever, and versus a Corolla, they're not going to let you pay. They're not going to let you claim the cost of your lease for a, you know, a luxury car. part of it, but not 100% of it. And then page 38, it shows, and this is, pretty similar for Canada. There's a list of accounts, and so whether it's personal, business, or both, some are both. And then, it gives you kind of an idea of what is 100% personal, what can be 100% business, and then what could be both. So your account fees, for instance, your gas it would be business, your gas would be both. Business cards would be, your clothing is, not business related. Neither is your groceries. In your home, it depends on if you have a dedicated home office, then there are expenses you can write off that as well. And it says here vacation is definitely a personal, but if you're going to like family reunion or mega camp or any kind of training, and then 100% of that is business expense. Even if you eat in a restaurant, if you're eating in a restaurant in the city, taking a client out, you can only claim half of that. But if you're eating in a restaurant because you're away at a conference or whatever, that you can claim 100% of that. Again, keeping a mileage log. I don't want to tell stories on Rachel, but she didn't do that last year, and so she didn't get to claim any of her expenses. And again, I have an Excel spreadsheet. If any, create your own, I can email it out to you. I've also got the, and I'll bring these up in a bit and show you. There's the millionaire real estate one there that's very detailed. The one I did was just a basic one for people who are just starting out. And then on page 42, there's a very detailed checklist for tax deductions.
Oh, there's a question in the chat.
Oh, okay.
What is the MREA model for training budget? 10%.
Oh, it's so long since I looked at that. Why I can't get rid of that. I'll have to look at that and get back. Oh, and of course, if anybody would want, because you're spending your time sitting here with me, trying to learn this stuff or whatever. But if anybody wants one-on-one help or whatever, like, I totally don't mind. So I put my email address up there. So if you have any questions or want any help. Because for some people, like, this kind of stuff is not easy. The other thing that I would highly recommend too is have an account do your taxes, because if you do get audited, they're going to be the point of contact. And again, keeping records, I can't stress that enough. Like, there's no such thing as having too many records. Keep receipts for everything. Even your gas receipts. I mean, I always paid my gas on my credit card, but I have all my credit cards, but I still keep all my receipts and I keep it all together. I'm sure there's mileage apps too that you can get. I still do mine the old-fashioned way with a calendar. So the other thing, like goals versus actuals. I would recommend reviewing your goals at least monthly or at least quarterly, because if you're off 1 month, you can potentially catch up. It's much harder to do so at the end, like halfway through the year or whatever. And there's nothing more deflating to knowing that you're not going to make your budget. That's something that we've always done with Keller Williams. At the end of every month, we look at where we're at, we revisit, and we might even increase or decrease things as we progress throughout the year. We do what Keller Williams calls red light, green light. So if our numbers are off, then we're gonna red light. We're gonna look at what expenses do we really need to cut back on. Can we put off for a couple months, or green light if maybe there's something we want to move ahead for. We're way ahead on where we were supposed to be target wise. And so maybe we will, bring in a training event or something like that. So
we talked about in the meeting too, printing out credit card statements using 3 different color highlighters. Green is like you absolutely must have it.
Yeah,
You can't do business without it. Pink maybe is you like it, it helps your business, but it's not absolutely necessary. And then maybe yellow is like, I don't even know what this is.
Yeah.
I need to cancel this.
well, and the other thing too, and this has happened to me too, I mean, you know, at the end of the year, I'll look at like some of my credit card statements or whatever, and I ended up paying for stuff that I didn't even have. So, like my daughter, when she graduated university and she moved to Ottawa, I was paying for her car insurance. Well, I paid for her car insurance for a whole year, but they didn't cover Ontario. And she had to go get another insurance company, but nobody told me that. Yeah, and they wouldn't give me money back, even though if she was in an accident, they wouldn't have covered her. So anyway, I won't tell you that company's name. And again, you know, especially as you get more into business, it's important to have a balance sheet and a profit and loss. So your balance sheet, that just tells you, you know, what assets you have, what liabilities you have, and then what's left over. So, you know, assets, of course, is, you know, what your house and investments and all that. And then your liabilities would be like, you know, your mortgages and car payments, that kind of stuff. And then equity is what you have left over. So that's very important, especially as you get older. I want to know how much money I have left to spend.
There's a question in the chat asking if you can scan your receipts or do you recommend keeping a physical receipt?
Oh, I think you can scan them. Yeah, yeah. But as Aaron knows, I'm a paper person.
Yeah.
And a piler.
Taking over her office was fun.
Yeah. I'll have electronic too, but I still have piles of paper. And then, so on page 51, it does show a very detailed profit and loss statement. And when I email you out the MREA, the model, if you're interested in that spreadsheet, all of that will be there for you as well.
And you can see on this, it's on page 50. It has the 30, 30, 40
Yeah,
built into it.
and and so in the spreadsheet, it will automatically calculate that out for you. That's all we're thinking. And again, understanding the profit and loss, I think we touched on that. And really, my goal of this session today is not to get into any great detail on, you know, building your profit and loss or building your budget or whatever, but it's just making you understand the importance of having one and how to get started.
Linda, can I ask you a question about your spreadsheet?
Yep.
Does your spreadsheet also include the ITC for HST?
No.
So, okay. I have a spreadsheet, but I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate that so I know how much I'm getting potentially back credited for ITC. And I haven't figured out how to do that yet.
All right, I'll make a note about that.
And I put my email in the chat for you.
Okay,
We'll send them to everybody that's on.
yeah.
Something that I also wanted to mention, because I kind of got caught behind in everything where I started in April and then it was just everything. So I just put everything in a box and finally found time and went through it. So some things that I love about the fact that we're on systems now is that I could go into showing time and pull every single place that I went from the entire year. So therefore you would still miss out on home showing or on like inspections and all the other driving, but that helped me focus in on what I knew, where I knew I went, and I had proof of it. Also, you know, what you spent yearly with NSAR, you can get the yearly for that. You can ask your dentist, your doctor, you can ask for the yearly. So it is good to keep the receipts, but I guess don't get too caught up in it where it was all there. Like even KW has, what did you spend for the year? So
Yeah.
use our systems to help you, I guess it was a real big help for me.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, when you guys get your T4s from us, we also send the
The
printout of
worksheet.
all of your expenses.
Yeah, financial worksheet.
Yeah.
It's attached with it.
Is there anything in commands where we can track all of our expenses and ideally do up a spreadsheet? Goals and then.
There is goals, but I don't know that it incorporates expenses very much.
Then on page, I'm thinking the pages run the same, 59, it just shows like a personal budget worksheet. And one of the things, I know when I was like, thinking about retiring or whatever, I wasn't very good at, keeping track of my, what I was spending daily. And Carl used to always say to me, well, how much do you know how much you need to live on, when you're retired? I'm like, no. And I started tracking my, my spending or whatever. It's like, holy crap, I'm spending that much money on clothes or purses or shoes or, or dining out. Like, wow, I got to make some changes. Oh, yeah. So lead generation, they give you example too on page 67 about, having lead generation and tracking, again, tracking the different types of lead generation you're using. So you know which one, and then holding your money accountable. Like, if you're spending like 12 grand a year on advertising, are you getting your money's worth out of that versus, 4,800 on online internet lead generation, right? So, hold your expenses accountable. Are they making you money? If not, get rid of them.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
They say sometimes that you have to give it enough time.
Yes,
How much is enough time?
I
to give it
know.
Before you decide that particular source of advertising isn't working, like the real estate book or some of those types of things.
What does Alex do?
I would say like 6, it would
6 to
depend on
yeah.
the advertising.
Yeah.
If it's like an immediate, like internet should be faster.
Yeah,
Right.
like
Right?
Facebook ads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say probably 6 months is time to reevaluate.
Okay.
Mhm.
At a minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta, you gotta give it some time. Yeah.
Because a lot of it is also brand recognition. So anything less than 6 months, you're not getting brand recognition,
Right.
right?
And again, there's again, a lot more detailed. If you wanted to set up, communication and technology, you can have one lump sum, or you can break it down into like a half a dozen, like, it just depends on what level of detail that you want in your planning. I think, and as you get bigger, it's more important. And especially if you're going to start, running a team, right? Oh, yeah, we talked about that, caring for your budget, leading with revenue, play red light, green light, and stick to your budget. So all successful market centers run their businesses the same way as an agent would run their business. And then the agent trend report. So when we're talking about the multi-year trends, so it tracks, your closed units, your closed sales volume, your listings taken, your volume, listings sold, the volume, contracts written volume, your, your net income, your profit share, all of that is, I think it's like, I know the Market Center one's like 13
Yeah.
pages, like it just tracks everything. Yeah, so if you focus on the production metrics or whatever, you'll see the results in your income. So like keep focus on the day-to-day stuff. Yeah, so really the point of all of that is like commit to your goal. It's your path to profit and living a big life. Embrace the power of the financial statements, get your personal budget in shape, determine your business budget, and keep up with training. Never stop learning. The last section just kind of talks about living, how important it is to live a healthy lifestyle. Make sure that you're focusing on not just your business and your financial, but your relationship, your personal life, your health. All of that's all important. We did talk about as well, like having like a reserve. So, it's important to have at least 6 months. I would say 6 months minimum. In case something goes wrong, you get sick or establish a savings plan. This one goes into a lot of US terminology. And then again, the profit share trade. That's so simple to be able to take advantage of, the 48% that's shared back to help people help us grow the company.
And it's for life.
It's for life, yes.
So if you retire, once you're with Keller Williams for 7 years, you will continue to earn that.
But if you mistake, you put the wrong person down.
You have 90 days.
Yeah. I think yours is past
90 days. Yeah. And it's
I'm
all,
not saying it is. I'm not
Okay.
saying-
yeah,
No, I'm not saying it is. I'm just wondering.
it's also willable.
What I was thinking is if anybody did, let's say, put me down. for instance,
Right.
there's no way for them to take it back. Right?
within 90 days.
Within 90
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's willable. And the one thing about that is that if you don't have to be, if you die within the 7 years
Yeah.
or whatever, it's automatically vested. It's automatically vested. Your beneficiary will continue to receive that. No. Oh, you can change your
Yeah.
beneficiary. Yes. Oh, yeah. What if you get divorced? Oh, yes. First thing to do. Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, what? I
Yeah.
always tell people you can't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an important one. Oh, yes, a lot of people, say that they want to change their sponsor because they don't want them getting any of their profit or whatever, but it's not the agent's profit you're getting, it's the ownership group's profit that you're getting, so. Yeah, I don't like so-and-so anymore. I want to change. And it also, by naming your sponsor, it doesn't mean that, that they expect you to train them or anything like that. Be a resource to them. I mean, sure, if you want to, you can, but it's not part of it.
Susan actually just put something really interesting up in the chat about the MREA and Shift. I found them really useful when trying to navigate all of this stuff. It really did help. And right now, Shift is an amazing book to read. And from a perspective of budgeting and trying to figure out how we're going to manage everything, Shift is a really good read to help with that and understanding how to be a little bit more conservative in what you're doing.
Yeah. And actually, the MREI is a good one too. I mean, I had never owned any income properties, but once I was started working with Keller Williams, that's one of the first things I did, was buy an investment property.
I'm afraid after seeing tenants.
Oh, I know. I learned the hard way. I got a property. It took me a few years of hard knocks, but I got a property manager. Knock on wood. Everything's good so far.
Nice.
And then this section here really gets into how to build a team. And you'll hear a lot about the 7th level teams. Well, this shows what the 3rd level is, the 4th level, the 5th, the 6th. By the time you get to the 7th, you're not actually you know, out selling real estate. You're just, you know, leading the team. And then there's some action items here on page 84. Just some things that you want to, you know, things that you want to do, check off what you want to do, when you want to have it done by, and who's going to hold you accountable. It's kind of like when you have somebody who's going to list their house and you go through and you say, oh my God, this house is never going to sell. There's so much junk in here, you can't move, right? So you say, okay, go through one room at a time and decide, you know, what you need to get rid of. And it's no different, you know, go through this list one at a time and focus on what's most important. And really that's, you know, the nuts and bolts of agent financials. I mean, trying to keep it as simple as possible. If anybody has any questions, you can, again, email me, call me anytime. If you need help.
This was extremely
Good. Let's hope that even if you get some small nugget.
Yeah, more eye-opening,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
that last page.
right, yes.
An idea of what you can take.
Well, you
Yeah.
look at some of the teams. I mean, look at CRT. I mean, that's a massive team and very successful. And yeah, it just depends on what you want to get out of, you know, your business.
Yeah, this was really, really helpful, Linda. I've been through just about every financial training that we could possibly do and a few on my own. And it's really nice to kind of have you solidify some things that have been going on in the training that I've been picking up. And just kind of reinforcing some things that I've kind of let slip. So I've been keeping all my stuff, but I've been so preoccupied that I haven't been focusing on some things. So this is a good reminder to kind of pull it back together and make sure I'm doing all those things and getting those details organized and cataloged.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, that I just can't stress enough, because, you know, I was like, you know, even though I worked in finance my whole life, probably one of the worst offenders, but I never had a personal budget. So it's like, how do I know how much I need to live, right? And, you know, and the eye opener is, wow, I spent that much money on that, you know, like, and the other thing, I remember somebody telling me this a long time ago, was a financial advisor or whatever. He says, it's the only $20, the only $20. That's what's going to kill you.
Yeah.
You know, it's only 20. It's only $20. Why not, right? But how many times, you know, in the run of a week or whatever, that you say it's only $20. Yeah,
You go out and buy a bottle of wine.
Yeah. Yeah. all right. And again, if anybody wants any one-on-one or whatever. Call. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for coming in. Coming in and online.
Thanks, have a good day.
Bye.